All right now. What's up, world? How y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? This your boy, God, you know what I'm saying? And I'm here today, you know what I'm saying? I want to read something, you know what I'm saying? I want to read something, you know what I'm saying? Now, you know what I'm saying? Genesis, it talks about when the angel of the Lord, you know what I'm saying, came and said that Abraham's wife was gonna get pregnant, and she laughed, and Sarah laughed, you know what I'm saying? And you know, after Sarah laughed, you know what I'm saying, she went, Abraham's wife bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar, you know what I'm saying? Hey girl, you know what I'm saying, like that. But then you let T.D. Jakes, or a woman pastor call her name, they call her Hagar, you know what I'm saying? But really she was Hagar, you know what I'm saying? And it was, hey girl, you know what I'm saying? And Sarah said to Abraham, behold, the Lord has restrained me from bearing. I pray you go to my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah. And Abraham's wife took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abraham, to his wife. And he went to Hagar, and she conceived, and saw that she conceived, and her mistress, Sarah, was despised in her eyes. You know what I'm saying? Sarah had despised in her eyes. You know what I'm saying? Her mistress, Sarah, was despised in her eyes. It wasn't like, you know what I'm saying, if a woman tell it, it'll be like, Hagar, was in the wrong, you know what I'm saying? But Hagar did not despise Sarah. You know what I'm saying? Sarah was despised in Hagar's eyes. She had hate for Hagar after that, because she had a baby by her husband. You know what I'm saying? She had hate for Hagar, but I'm gonna let a woman tell the story, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let a woman tell the story. I could be wrong.
I think that is one of the saddest things that can happen to a person, is for it to be too late to go back and do what you wish you would have done and should have done, and just end up regretting the way you've lived with no way to fix it. So, the first thing that is a total waste of time is what the Bible refers to as dead works. Now, God wants us to do good works, but he wants us to avoid dead works. So, what are dead works? Well, dead works are our energy trying to do what only God can do. Do you know how hard it is to try to make something happen that only God can make happen? And the more you try to make it happen, the bigger mess you make out of everything. Anybody had any experience with any of that? We see this plainly with Abraham and Sarah when they wanted to have a child, and God had made them a promise. And it was a promise that was impossible to be fulfilled without God, because they were both way beyond childbearing age. Abraham was 100. Sarah was close to that, up in her 90s, I guess, and past childbearing years. And they'd never had a child of their own. God had promised them that they would, but they got tired of waiting. Anybody ever get tired of waiting? So they got tired of waiting and came up, well, Sarah, but it was just as much Abraham's fault because he followed her lead. Sometimes you need to follow the woman's lead, but sometimes you need to say no, because we can tend occasionally to be a little emotional. And so I guess on a certain day, Sarah just got really tired of waiting, and she got a bright idea. You know what a bright idea is? It's one of those things where you're like, that's what I'll do, and that'll work. And then we even say, that's what God wants me to do. You know, God does speak to us through our thoughts, but every thought that you have is not God. And so some things you need to wait on and pray about a little bit more before you just go with the first thought that comes in your head. So she had this bright idea that she would give her handmaiden to her husband to be his secondary wife. How many of you already know that that's stupid? Okay? I mean, that had trouble written all over it before it ever got started. And she could bear children, so she wanted her husband to have intercourse with her, and that she would get pregnant, and then she would take that child as hers. Well, Abraham listened to what she said and did it. And sure enough, she got pregnant. Well, as soon as she got pregnant, then she got a bad attitude towards Sarah. Nah, 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 nah. I'm pregnant and you're not.
Yeah, see, that's the lie. That's the lie. That's the gossip. That's the lie right there. That's the lie. That girl, Hagar, didn't even, she didn't do nothing. All she did was had a baby. She didn't have time to, nah, boo-boo, you ain't got a baby, I got one. That woman did not do none of that. I'm not going to listen to no more Joyce Myers because, that wasn't the case. But listen.
I don't know if that's exactly the way it went, but she got a bad attitude. Well, then Sarah got mad because Hagar had a bad attitude.
See,
she had the baby, and Sarah and her never could get along after that. And so Sarah then went to Abraham and wanted him to go deal with Hagar. And he said, you take care of it, it's your own problem. And she said, no, you do it. She blamed it on him, he blamed it on her, and it just turned out to be nothing but a big mess. Well, we can read their story and say, how dumb, but how many of us do the exact same things day after day? When we want something, we can find 1,000 different ways to try to make it happen and think all of them are God. Dead works are...
she right. But that's the lie that girl despised the woman. They might not have got along, but she was mad because the woman had a baby and she didn't. And guess what? If God told Abraham to take Isaac up and offer him up to God, who you think the other God, the only God could have told him that would have been his wife. The only God could have told him to go sacrifice his son would have been the Eve of him. And that's his wife. So, I ain't gonna listen to no more Joyce Myers. But T.D. Jakes preaches the same way, And I take that because, T.D. Jakes might think like a woman in that case, I don't know. I'm not gonna say nothing less or nothing more to it, make him think I'm talking about gay stuff or something like that, which I'm not. This God, I'm on real purposes today, this Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody, to my enemies and my friends and family members.
What you want to do is save hundreds with Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your friend to stop digging into the